Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Happy Tuesday. This is the Rig on Wheel show featuring MVT, your first ever truck driver recruitment show. I am your host, Kameel Gaines, the CEO of Rig on Wheels. And joining me, of course, is Pierson, Robert Pierson. He is our favorite VP of recruiting over there at MVT, Missoula Valley. We are your top destination for trucking news, insights, hot jobs, tips for drivers and recruiters. So let's definitely make history together. Pierson, where are you at in the world, like on Earth? Where are you located?
I'm presently in Vilnius, Lithuania, where we have a few people that work with us closely in order to hire truck drivers with us. They do a great job for us. And so we got the team here, the Lithuanian team. I think I am the only person in El Paso, Texas that has a key card that gets me into an office in Lithuania.
Look at you. So you kind of like a important person over there too, huh?
No, I can't tell what they're saying about me, but that's probably a good thing.
They think you're important too. I know they think you're important. Okay, so let's talk about this. Diesel going down. It's my excuse to spend more money. I'm really enjoying this, or the credit cards are enjoying it. Somebody is enjoying it. But like the gallon is now we're under $4, $3.98. Now you have your thought as to why. So let's talk about, are we under $4?
Well, U.S. oil production is the leading indicator of that. So to put it in a nutshell, I can look back as recently as September because that would be what's coming into the market currently. And the U.S. is producing about 13.2 as far as barrels of oil. To put that in context on a daily basis, if you're producing, each barrel of oil has just a smidge under 35 gallons. So if you did the math on that, that's basically 13.88 million gallons of oil that's being produced on a daily basis or on a monthly basis. That is, on a barrel standpoint, that's essentially a 5,000 barrel per day increase in what we were doing in 2016 as an example. And it is an all-time record for the U.S. So the U.S. producing oil into the world market is the leading culprit of why fuel continues to go down. So despite the craziness in Israel, despite what's going on in Ukraine, the big thing pushing down oil prices right now is the U.S. is producing at record levels. Now, it's driven costs down, and there's some forms of production that will slow down because the price of oil is not justifying the money that it takes to extract the oil. So as an example, if you look at the oil sands in Alberta, that's really costly to get oil out of sand. It can be done, but it generally needs to be above $70 a barrel. It is at that moment. We still have a little bit further that we could go down potentially. Not reading too much in the tea leaves because there's people at a much higher pay scale that probably follow this more than I do. But I don't think we've hit the bottom yet. So maybe we got another couple of weeks. And as you pointed out, going into Christmas timing wise, this is great for us. Considering what inflation's done to all the prices that we have, if we can at least have one break on something, that's a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Or at least it makes us feel like it for a short term. But you wouldn't have been able to pay me with all of this war and destruction that's going on everywhere that we would have been talking about decreased prices in fuel right now. I mean, somebody should have, I'm not a betting woman, but I would have bet money that we would have been talking about increased diesel right now. So I really can't believe it, but I'm enjoying shopping.
Above everything else, supply and demand matters, and the supply is out there, led primarily by the U.S. at this moment. So we'll see how long that can go. Generally, it moves a little slowly, so we probably have a couple weeks left where we can take some decrease on that. We'll see how long they can keep that production up. But again, once the price of fuel goes down below a certain point, there's parts of the system that start closing down because the profit's not in it. So we'll have to watch that closely. And it's kind of interesting when you look at the drivers right now that are in the open market going to tanker companies that deal primarily in the oil sector. They're still not seeing the boom they did in 2021. If you guys were remembering it, you probably got calls from recruiters literally trying to get you to go into the oil fields and haul water and sand and oil. And you saw 2021 saw incredible growth in what drivers were making in the oil fields. But oil's boom or bust. You live out of Houston, so you see that city go through a lot of those boom and bust cycles when oil goes crazy. We aren't in that 2021 thing right now, so we've not seen it in driver pay. We've not necessarily seen it in other sectors. So we're not seeing the $120 a barrel oil prices, but they're producing the oil. So there's drivers that are busy on it. Hopefully it holds somewhat steady. As much as we want to see prices for oil go down, there's also a lot of drivers in this industry, in that niche of the industry, that when prices start going down too far, you start seeing them lose jobs. So as much as I want to see oil go down from a selfish standpoint, I also want it to go down slowly, because you want the best for a driver if they drive for you or somebody else.
Yeah, it definitely, it's, when it comes to our industry, it's pros and cons to all of it. So we kind of got to watch it, but you're right about the leveling out. It's the leveling out. But I want to look at it for the Americans all the way around, all of us at the pump, to be honest with you. But I want it to go down slowly.
Well, there's a blessing too. A lot of the small owner operators or fleets of less than 5 trucks, less than 10 trucks, rely very heavily on the spot market. And generally speaking, on the spot market, that's an all-in price. That includes your fuel. So fuel going down for them is a really good thing. Rates are flat on the spot market. It's not as ugly as it was a few months ago, but it's ugly. And so for them to get a reprieve of some sort becomes really important.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that. And I just kind of want to throw this in when it comes to your owner operators. Try to stay like within a certain type of region. I just want to throw that nugget out there. Try to stay in a region instead of doing 48, all 48. Try not to do that as an owner operator because of diesel. We are seeing very good diesel prices, but just as a practice, do think about a region. You can still do over the road or over the road time. I want to say that, but think about a region so you're not, all over all lower 48. So with that being said, let's go ahead, head to a commercial. And when we come back, I think we should jump right into the hot jobs. What do you think?
I have a market already at the top of my head.
I know. All righty. So let's go ahead, do a quick commercial, and then come back and hot job time. Welcome back. Okay, so let's talk about the hot jobs. I know we're going to immediately get into division, let me guess, 400.
What a lucky guess. We'll look at 400 in particular out of the Nashville marketplace, running up into what we consider the Northeast, but isn't really the Northeast. We will hit from Nashville or the Central Tennessee Valley. We'll hit places like middle of Pennsylvania, upstate New York occasionally, coming back into the Southeast, South Central U.S. It's a division that is probably the busiest in our market right now. at least that we operate for MVT. Drivers make about $90,000 to $95,000 a year. It's all no-touch freight, no endorsements needed, all 53-foot dry van. So if that sounds like something that you'd be interested, weekly home time, again, making $1,700 a week, 281-968-3100 would be a great number to call, and we can talk about Division 400. Additionally, we're also looking for drivers out of a number of other markets where we have really nice regional running lanes, attractive running lanes that will keep people out of the snow. So as an example, we're looking for drivers out of El Paso, Dallas-Fort Worth, San Antonio, Laredo, Houston, as well as a few others. But the big thing right now, if you know anybody that lives in Tennessee, freight is jumping for us out of the Nashville marketplace, both regionally staying around the Midwest to Southeast with a division we call 410, and then with 400 where it makes about $10,000 more a year going up to the Northeast.
Okay, so I just want to make sure. So Nashville for Division 400, what is the hiring radius for Nashville?
Generally a 100-mile radius of Nashville. So if you're within 100 miles of it, you work well because our trucks stay at the shop. It's why we are able to offer such strong equipment because while you're at home, your truck's being worked on, anything's being taken care of that could possibly be wrong with it. We have a little more visibility on the equipment than carriers that would have you park it at home. The nice thing is, as a driver, if you live in an apartment complex, a trailer park, or quite frankly, a house that you don't want a truck sitting in your front lawn, we have ample parking space for all of our equipment.
Okay, cool. And then we're only doing Nashville for Division 400.
Yes.
And then Division 410
would also be Nashville. And 410 is primarily going to make about 80 to 85,000 a year and stick Southern Midwest, Great Lakes states, Southeast, South Central U.S., same home time. But like I said, the difference in pay is about $10,000 because we don't go to the Northeast. We're not going to the George Washington Bridge. We don't see the boroughs. We don't see New England. But you are going Northeast, and there's some challenges that come with that. Heavier traffic, some winter driving compared to staying home. So generally that job, because of what the freight allows, pays about $10,000 more a year.
Okay, cool. And when you say Northeast, I just want to piggyback on that. It's Northeast, but it's not the real Northeast.
Yeah, we're going to places like Carlisle, Pennsylvania, Hershey, Allentown, Ithaca, New York. Like I said, if your truck sees the Statue of Liberty out the side of the truck, something has gone wrong. You've gone off the map.
Somebody has borrowed the truck.
Yes, there is a problem.
Okay, cool. So I know that those are the two hot jobs. Any other jobs that we have available that are cool?
Yeah, I'd say there's a couple. We have unique roles for teams. So as an example, if you're out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Laredo, or San Antonio, we have a Texas regional run that's great for teams where you stick to Texas and southern Oklahoma. You literally will start your day Monday morning, get back generally Saturday morning, whole bunch of drop and hook. We have local drivers in each of those markets that do the last mile move. So the goal is to have you doing drop and hook constantly. Generally, on a per driver basis, they're going to make about $1,700 a week. You're going to get weekly home time on the weekends. Lots to do there, so we'll take teams for that. And then if you're looking for the miles to make a little bit more money, out of El Paso, Dallas-Fort Worth, and Albuquerque, we have what's called Division 110 that does more of the coast-to-coast stuff on expedited freight. Again, all of our stuff is no touch. We do not want you to be a lumper. And with that said, no endorsements needed, all 53-foot driving. The thing we need is your expertise behind the wheel.
Can you tell us how much they would be making per week, per driver? That's what I like about this.
Yeah, on Division 329, it's generally going to be about $1,700 a week for the driver. On Division 110, it's going to be closer to that $1,900 range.
So I like that. I like that. Definitely for the drivers because it's engineered or dedicated loop lanes. I like to use words like dedicated lanes, but I know you like to use words like engineered lanes. So, potato, tomato, tomato. But something else I wanted to say, I think I lost. Oh, so a question that we always get, and I know since we're talking about teams, and I know somebody's going to say this to Kayla, so I might as well ask it now. So we have a driver or a son that might have 4 months experience, and the mom has 5 years experience. Tell me about that, whether or not he can team up with his mom.
Yeah, so generally speaking, if it's a solo driver, we need at least 6 months of verifiable tractor trailer OTR experience in the past year or a year in the past 3. However, in the situation you're describing where you have a less experienced driver with an experienced driver, as long as that experienced driver has a safe, stable work history, they act as what's called a one-time trainer, meaning they can train and work with that other driver to ensure that they finish up their time to get to that 6-month spot. They essentially are a student, but once again, their trainer is their relative or the person they came into the relationship with. So it's absolutely an opportunity. See it a lot with husband, wives, spouses, but we'll see it with other family members as well as lifelong friends.
Okay, so since we're talking about hot jobs and things like that, what I wrote down is Pierson. I want you on the spot, build me your ideal 2024 professional truck driver.
Yes, competitively safe. And so what I mean by that is a driver that doesn't just want to be a driver, but wants to be the driver. And so as an example, and we'll talk about it later in the podcast here, as we describe the bonus for MPGs. But it's one thing to go through the motions and go, hey, I'm going to move this load today, and then I'll get home. It's another thing to go, I want to be safe. I want to be professional. I want to be better than the driver that's next to me at this truck stop. So it's somebody that takes pride in what they do. They take pride in the fact that they are on their way to 1 million safe miles, or that they don't have an accident, that they don't have a ticket, that they get along with the customers, and that they are competitive about being the best driver possible. In a market currently where every customer right now is getting a great level of service because freight's tight, the shippers are in the driver's seat, pardon the pun, you have to set yourself apart versus the other companies. And at the end of the day, it's not really the trucks that do that. The trucks play a role in it. It's not a computer system. It's not a software. It is literally the drivers that separate one company from the next. And that only happens if you have drivers that want to be better than company B. And so I would say competitively safe would be the word I describe with that. They're competitive, yet they're safe.
Okay, anything else that you want to add? If we're building, I'm allowing you to build a bear.
Well, let me get the machinery warmed up here. I would also take competitively safe, and I would say passionate about what they do. And I would probably point out really big on communication. The key here is we talk and we build a relationship, and that's really what we're doing. When you join MVT or any company, you're trying to build a relationship between a fleet manager / dispatcher and the driver. You got to over communicate for that to happen. Now that's a two-way street. It's not just on the driver, that's on us as well. Mm-hmm. The more we can communicate. Trucking's hard. This is not for everybody. And so things are going to go unplanned. As much as we do with our engineered lane to plan 2-3 days in advance, weather happens. 80 car pileup ahead of you happened, and now it's adjusted your complete work schedule. Right. That communication is the other key part of that. So being competitive, being safe, and being a big communicator would probably, if a driver's got those 3 things, we're going to make magic.
Tell me why communication is good, important for your professional driver, your ideal professional
You
driver.
broke up a sec. Can you say that again?
Tell me why your ideal professional driver for 2024 is important for him or her to communicate.
Like I said, the unplanned, but I'll also say this too. We want a driver to like what they do. The worst thing is Look, at the end of the day, say I hire a driver and the driver comes in and they quit 30 days later because they didn't like the job, but we're surprised by the termination. We're surprised that they've left us. We want that chance to have you be successful. And so
Right.
don't assume that as a carrier, I'm not going to be able to assist you. If you have a family issue at home, if you have a different need from a home time standpoint, if you have goals that change, and your goals can change over 30 days or objectives. The big thing's telling us, give us that chance to go ahead and see if we can't work together and keep things going strong. If you don't say anything, just like if I'm a dispatcher and I don't think you're doing a good job and I just keep quiet about it, and all of a sudden I had to let you go, and you go, wait a minute, what the hell happened here? You seemed happy. Well, shame on me. I didn't have an honest conversation with my coworker here about what we needed to do. Same thing goes on the driver. At the end of the day, we separate at trucking companies these silos where drivers, office employees. And the problem with those silos is there's a whole bunch of secrets being kept. If you're a driver and you get hired with MVT, you are my coworker. You're no different than the recruiter. You're no different than the guard shack attendant or my boss, the COO of the company. You're not a driver. You're my coworker. We are literally the same thing. You might as well be sitting at the desk next to me. That only happens if we communicate and we talk about it.
I like everything you said, and you said it with passion. So tell me, why is it important for him or her, they or them, to have passion or be passionate?
Yeah, life is short, and we spend a lot of time working. And if you don't like what you do or try to like what you do, it can be miserable. And you hear the people that complain, oh, I hate my job and I hate what I do and I don't like doing this. And they go through life being just absolutely miserable. And it's a horrible way to live. I'd much rather have something that I'm passionate about, care about, that I know has meaning. And it's the fun part of being in transportation. One out of 6 workers in the U.S. are in some form or fashion a transportation employee, or where they deal with our industry. It is by far, in 23 states, truck driver is the number one job in the state. And what we do matters. You hear about it. If it got moved, it was on a truck. That is the case. And so what we do has purpose. We're not asking somebody, and there's nothing wrong with it, but I'm not having to ask somebody, do you want fries with that? I'm not having to hand out stickers or free items or sell steak knives at the mall. Our job has meaning, and what we do has purpose and keeps the country going. And so having that passion that you care about what happens and that you want to enjoy your life becomes really important, because if you're passionate about it and I'm passionate about it, chances are the end product's going to be pretty damn good.
Yeah, I 552% agree with that, because we get one life. So if this is not what you want to do, change it. And if you want to start being in trucking, being a trucker, or however you want to put it, we definitely welcome you if you're going to be a professional driver. So yeah,
Yep.
100%. So definitely. Okay. I definitely wanted to know that. Since we were talking about hot jobs, I wanted to know, going into 2024, what was your ideal professional driver? And I wanted to put you on the spot.
Well, I'm glad I could answer that, because if I couldn't, something would be very bad and I'd struggle in my role.
Yeah, that was true. That might be true.
It also makes for a horrible show.
But still, you know how it goes. Okay, so let's go ahead, and I would say, let's go to commercial. And when we get back, we want to go ahead, talk about, because you brought it up, the bonuses with the fuel and all of that spills, and is a very good follow-up for for what we're talking about right now, the professional ideal truck driver. So let's go to commercial. Thanks, Kayla. Thank you for coming back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Okay, so because Pierson did such a fantabulous job talking about what his ideal driver was for 2024, and I will be asking that of other companies as well, because every company's ideal is going to be different. Yes, we want communicators, things like that, but there are going to be a few things that might be a little different. It definitely is. It's going to be a few things that are a little different. But because of that, I do want to follow up and have Pierson talk about how MVT has 4 driver appreciations during the year, which is something I haven't heard another company do. I'm sure another company does, and I want them to step forward. But until they do, let's talk about MVT doing it. So take it away, Pierson.
Yeah, one of the things that I find kind of annoying is that a lot of carriers specifically just do it 1 week in September. I've seen carriers have a lot of events where it's a bunch of people in their office celebrating and no drivers are around, which makes for an odd driver appreciation. We want to see our drivers. We want to physically see our drivers. And we find doing it once a year, that's not plausible because we're all trying to keep the wheels turning and make money. We ultimately do it 4 times a year because it allows more opportunity that we're going to see a driver face to face. So we do it at all of our orientation locations plus a couple other locations. So in Denver, Laredo, Nashville, El Paso, excuse me, all of our lanes go through those areas. And so because of that, you're bound to hit one of the driver appreciation events every year. We do one every single quarter. Whole lot of activities going on, but the biggest thing is the face-to-face interaction that we get ends up being fantastic. If you're going to thank somebody for what they do physically, being able to do it face-to-face means more than an impersonal text message. We do a lot of things there. We do the MPG giveaway of a brand new car. We take time to listen to driver issues on the road, talk about what their successes as well. So when you have a face-to-face conversation with us, it's not because you've done something wrong. We also have face-to-face conversations, quite frankly, because you may have done something right. And we want to make sure that you're recognized for doing it. So yeah, 4 times a year in Denver, Laredo, Nashville, and El Paso.
So you said a few things, and I got to write it down because I forget things. So first, I want to talk about this. I look in Facebook groups and on TikTok and other places, and we do, and you hear drivers talking just period. But you'll have driver appreciation week and no drivers at driver appreciation week. So the fact that MVT does it 4 times, that's good because at some point the Timmy will be able to go to at least one of those. That makes sense because he may not be able to show up at the one in September, but he's able to show up at another one. Ding, ding, ding. That makes sense. Okay, so I like that. So that makes it. Oh, we talked about something else last week. I think it was it online or offline when you said the leaderboard? Tell us about the leaderboard again.
Yeah, so we do MPGs. We track MPGs really, really close. And it's a competitive thing. We talked about being passionate and competitively safe. One of the things that we're very passionate about is fuel economy. Fuel economy is one of the things that once you get the truck, once you get the freight, there's only 2 ways you can save money. It's either going to be on fuel or it's going to be on pay. We're not going to go backwards on driver pay. We want our drivers to be as financially successful as possible. So that leaves fuel. And that, in an industry where we average about 6.5 miles a gallon, as a fleet, we average about 9.5. If we look at the leaderboard, as far as who has the best fuel economy on a quarterly basis, last quarter it was a team that had 12.6 miles a gallon, running OTR/regional. Been with us 9 months. They're already the top of the leaderboard for that. With that said, we have it out there that when you walk into one of the terminals, you will see where you rank as far as your fuel economy. And we want to know why. We want to work with you to improve on that. There's many ways that we can do that, but the biggest way that you improve your fuel economy is driver behaviors on the road. It's how often you pre-plan, when you get off the road, when you accelerate, decelerate, as well as knowing how to come down a hill or up a hill. There's a bunch of things that go into that. So our driver services department works with a driver. Yes, that department will take care of it if a driver has a ticket or an accident, but they also work on career development, both getting out of the truck as well as staying in the truck and being successful doing that. So the driver appreciation team or the driver services department will work with you. So if you're middle of the pack and you go, I want to start competing on the leaderboard, between the fleet manager, planners, and the driver services department, we're going to work on a game plan. It may be equipment based or behavioral based or a number of other factors to get you going up on that leaderboard. I've seen a lot of people that were middle of the pack over the past couple of years that start climbing up that because they make subtle changes. But in the world of trucking, there's a saying, if you mind the pennies, the dollars kind of take care of themselves.
Yeah.
It's one or two little steps that start adding up really quick to where instead of having 7 miles a gallon, you're now sitting at 10, 12 miles a gallon. It's not creating a miracle, it's just being really committed to it.
Yeah, commitment, consistency, like with anything else. It's consistency. I love that. Love that. So my next thing is question. Let's talk about retention-ish. It's in that category, right? So how can a driver, what methods does MVT have where a driver can reach out? Let's go with the positive first. Do something new. We're heading into 2024. So I'm going to start with positive first. Gratitude, doing something new. How can a driver reach out to MVT? MVT's driver reach out to you and tell you, I appreciate you all doing this. You're doing a good job doing that for me.
Yeah. So generally speaking, the first point of contact is that fleet manager. That fleet manager and the driver have a relationship that they're talking one way or another constantly. The other part of that is we have a we care line where both good or bad or ugly, a driver can throw something anonymous into the hat there that will get seen by upper management. And when I say anonymous, it's not always a bad thing. It might not be that somebody's upset about something. A lot of times on the We Care line, it's, hey, I like this dispatcher, or this weekend dispatcher did this for me, or hey, this customer has really driver-friendly freight. That We Care line, though, leaves it somewhat anonymous, so it can still come into the line here. So between We Care, conversations with the fleet manager, the driver services team, or in-cab communications, there's a lot of different ways. The first point's always that fleet manager, but there's always a way with us. So during our orientation, when we sit down with our drivers, we literally go one by one on each of those cases of, hey, here's who you reach for this problem. If all else fails, call your fleet manager. But here's all the ways that you can communicate with us. It's one of our goals when you leave orientation that you have a blueprint that when I have this problem, or I need to know this, or I just want to talk about this, this is who I contact.
I like that you said that you must have been psychic, so you knew that I was going to go next with if there was an issue, because you talked about the anonymous and things like that. Because, of course, sometimes anonymous can be something positive, but a lot of times anonymous is something negative, and they don't really want to say who they are for a lot of reasons,
Yeah, surprisingly, though, on that We Care thing, which, when I first got to MVT, I would have said, okay, so that's where a driver can dog us out. It's not the case. You will get a negative thing on there, but a lot of times it's a compliment of just, hey, this nighttime dispatcher did this for me. Or I want you to know that this customer, there was a guard shack attendant that I didn't get their name. I don't know who to contact, but I want to say the guard shack attendant was nice for me and let me park, even though I know they don't generally like somebody parking there. It is surprisingly positive.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's why in 2024 I'll join you and not be a pessimist.
Yeah, we're gonna do something different. Look at there. I'm gonna be just positive Nancy all year. But we're gonna go with it. Okay, something else I wanted to say, because I always I know we talk a lot about drivers and everything like that, but I also want to bring it back to the carriers, the fleets, all of that, and be realistic, right? So when you said competitive, safe drivers, I want to talk about what's in it for the driver. Obviously, not getting tickets, not getting into accidents, keeping their job, keeping income, being a safe team player, and all of that, right? What's in it for the company, profit, keeping their accounts, and then what's in it for the shipper. So I wanted you to go into that as well, because profit, safety go hand in hand.
Oh, they do. It is, in particular right now, the companies that are hemorrhaging money, you will generally find probably have safety issues. There's a direct correlation between the two. Freight is tough right now. Picking up new accounts is tough right now. It's extremely competitive. The shippers have the upper hand in our industry. Now, this will change, and every 18 months we go through the same cycle. With that said, it's up to the driver to be the face to the company. It's up to the company to have shippers that you maintain a relationship with. It is, at the end of the day, our value proposition is we offer a service, and we have to offer it better than XYZ Trucking. We only do that if we have better drivers than XYZ Trucking. We only do that if we communicate better than XYZ Trucking. And at the end of the day, we have to deliver a service that is better than everybody else. If we do that, we as a company make money, the driver makes money, and the shipper ultimately saves a ton of money because they get a higher level of service. We do not compete with being the cheapest carrier. However, we ultimately save a shipper money by being the best service that we could get. When a load's late, when a load's lost due to a safety issue, that costs the shipper money. I always go back to the fact that when a shipper tries to get the absolute cheapest carrier possible, you get what you pay for.
Right.
With that said, we also can't charge an arm and a leg. We have to be very competitive, and we have to be efficient. So trucking is one of those things that, look, your most successful trucking companies generally run at what's called a 95 OR, meaning they make about 5 cents on every dollar that they take into the company. And the cash flow is a big part of that. If you can make it 6 cents because you avoided a major accident or a major lawsuit, that's what starts separating one company to another. That penny took care of the dollars.
Yeah, absolutely. Service equals profit. Safety equals profit. So that's very important. That's the reason why companies are no longer begging. They are, which means us as third-party recruiters are demanding professional drivers, because that is what equals profit. Period.
And look, if you're a professional driver, the bright side, and there is a bright side to this, is there's a bunch of people in this industry that are ruining it for you. You don't want them in it. The clearinghouse has taken out about 150, 160,000 drivers because they couldn't pass a pre-employment drug screen. That is a good thing. It makes my life difficult. It's added some stress to my life, but that's a good thing in the long run. That I'm okay with it, because they shouldn't be in our industry. There's people that don't really think showing up on time matters and don't see what the big deal is. They don't belong in our industry. This is a painful part of that, and I don't want anybody to lose their job. But what ends up happening is freight gets hot. We start grabbing a bunch of drivers, and a bunch of people go money chasing and get into an industry that they're not a fit for. And it's okay to say that. Being a trucker is not for everybody. Being a professional on the road takes a lot of discipline, a lot of attention to detail. And quite frankly, the value proposition of a driver is, when I tell you I'm going to do something, you can count on it. If that's not a big, if your word's not a big thing to you, this industry is not for you.
You have to be a person and a human of your word to be a professional truck driver. That's just period. You literally have to be a human or a person of your word to be a professional truck driver. That's
why I love those driver appreciation days, because we meet a lot of fine men and women that are that. It gets me excited. I get pumped about our driver appreciation days, because we generally meet a lot of really good drivers that have a track record of success. I've never been starstruck by movie stars or sports athletes, but when I see somebody walk in with 12 miles a gallon, I get pretty damn excited.
Yeah, that is pretty impressive. When you told me that right there is very, very impressive. But I definitely strive and want to continue to be an advocate for the professional truck driver, because what I want is for the truck drivers, professional truck drivers, to have the same respect as the pilots. I keep saying that. so very, very important for me. And that can only be done through this. Also, when you say things like they have to attention to detail, be at work on time, be at the carrier on time, just simple. It seems like very simple things, but that's being a team player. Because if you're not doing what you're supposed to do, then it's a domino effect. It's part of the supply chain. It literally is part of the supply chain. And I promise you, this is something we learned in kindergarten or first grade. It couldn't have been just me. I know it just wasn't. I mean,
no.
that's part of it. It's part of that whole thing. Okay, so I want to go ahead, move on to the next segment, but I know Kayla said we had some questions, so I want to start the next segment out with questions and going from there. Sound good, Pierson?
Let's roll.
Okay. All right, so take us to whatever commercial you want, Kayla. Just pick.
Mi nombre es Carlos Vázquez, tengo trabajando 3 años aproximadamente y somos B1 y andamos en territorio de Estados Unidos. Lo que me gusta de MVT es que tiene buenos viajes, buenos camiones y muy buenas millas. Mi comunicación con los despachos es muy buena y todo eso, y siempre están a la orden del día. ¿Qué pienso del equipo de los camiones? Pues que muy bien y les dan sus mantenimientos, sus PO y todo lo demás, alineación y balanceo, todo, cambio de llantas y excelente servicio. La compañía cada trimestre regala un auto para los operadores. Me motiva pues a crecer más como persona y pues, para dar el 100, como dicen, para la compañía.
Thanks, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. Okay. So let's go ahead and get to questions. Kayla?
Yes. Hello. I had a question come through when you guys were talking about retention. So we had a viewer ask, what kind of retention does MVT see? Do you have statistics or things like that you can share as far as your retention rate at MVT?
Yeah. Last month's retention number, if I annualize it over the course of a year, is about 70% and going downwards. It's been going downwards now for about the past 6 quarters. Continues to go in that spot because we've cleaned some stuff up, and quite frankly, we focus on hiring better candidates that align with our business need. There's 2 things. I'm a big believer in hiring the right person for the right job because I want to do the best thing I can for the driver. And so part of that gets into hiring technique, is making sure I'm setting a driver up for success right off the bat. The second part of that equation, quite frankly, is having a job that allows them to have a living. And so that gets into, can you create a budget? Is the pay consistent? Is it rewarding? Do you have career advancement opportunities? So 3 to 6 months in, can you see yourself being there another year doing the job? So as we continue to focus on that, that turnover rate probably continues to go down.
Love it. Love it. I like that. One of the things that I like that MVT does, I really like that MVT does, is during orientation, how the recruiters round robin and go to the orientation site, the internal recruiters, and go to the orientation site to meet the drivers so they can actually see a recruiter. So that's very good.
This entire thing's built on relationships. And if you can't maintain a relationship, it's very hard for a driver to like where they're working, because don't you want to like your coworkers? It's hard to like your coworker if you've never seen your coworker. So as an example, that's part of the driver appreciation. It's part of us physically getting involved. Generally, I try to have lunch with a driver at least 2 to 3 times a week. And the reason I do that specifically, and it's not, who's my favorite driver, it's that there's a driver available, is because if you don't build a bond or you don't get the perspective of the driver, you essentially are using the driver as a tool or a resource the driver won't enjoy the relationship because how could they? Because I don't want to be viewed as a commodity. I want to be viewed as your coworker. I'm not known as VP of Recruiting 127. That's the most impersonal thing, but yet a lot of companies recognize the drivers. Oh, your driver 836. That is really hard to have a relationship if you don't physically look at somebody face to face, know them by their name, and know what are their goals and objectives. If you don't take the efforts to do that, that driver, as soon as there's a bad week or something's gone wrong, the driver doesn't have a lot of interest because they don't owe you anything, and vice versa. They're not having you owe them. So you got to build the rapport. Because again, I don't want to be VP of Recruiting 126.
No, that probably sucks. I could definitely say
It
that.
would. It's impersonal.
Yes, definitely. Kayla, you got another question?
I do.
Hit us.
I do. So this is a question about rider. What's your rider policy? And then more specifically, pet rider policy.
Yep. For a rider, they need to be over 18 years of age. Generally speaking, there's an insurance that's a minimal fee, but to cover insurance from a liability standpoint of them being onto the truck. A lot of our current drivers, Roberto Sandoval comes to mind, but there's a bunch of other drivers as well. Our next generation of drivers comes from people that generally are ride-alongs. So you'll see a lot of driver referrals came from somebody that had a chance to physically sit in the truck, get into the industry, have kind of what we talked about with that mentorship where, hey, I have a student here that I'd like to be the trainer on. And so that rider policy is a great thing for us. Some of our best, newest hires come from somebody getting to sit in the truck, not as a driver, but eventually going, boy, I'd like to do this job. So definitely have a rider policy and encourage people, bring people out there on the road with you. The second part of that on the pet, have a number of people with pets, both in the case of an emotional support animal, as well as people who just have a straight up pet. We generally have a fee to make sure that the truck's able to be detailed when that pet leaves that truck. But yeah, absolutely have a rider policy, and we'll always have that discussion with a driver. The only exception to that would be a local driver that's doing slip seating because they don't have sole possession of the truck would be the only exception to that.
Okay, awesome. You know what? I never thought about that when somebody is riding along, that's when, of course, they get a chance to see what's happening on an everyday, real life basis, not just, a conversation. They're literally in the truck, in the trenches, if you would say. So
it's what got me into trucking was taking a ride with my grandfather. I can tell you the first time I was in a truck would have been July of 1985. Went on a run from Michigan to Indiana, and I was hooked. So completely understand the question of why you'd want somebody. It could be a spouse, it could be a relative, it could be you have a nephew that's getting ready to enter the workforce, and you want them to see what life on the road is. There is no better advertisement for trucking than being in a truck and seeing it in action.
Yeah, I love it. Man, I never even thought about that. That just like opened up my mind to just something just totally. You got my wheels spinning now. I could just write a whole bunch of stuff about that. I'm forever writing, so I like that. Okay, anything else, Kayla?
I do have one more. It's a question about truck tech. Do you have APUs in the trucks?
Yes, all of our trucks come with APUs. So the APU is very valuable for a couple of reasons here. A, there's a lot of locations, municipalities, where you cannot idle a truck anymore without being fined. An example would be Dallas, is where you get a nice hefty fine. Not every truck stop has idle air, and that idle air can be pricey. And so our trucks come with APUs. It helps you get great fuel economy. It's the other reason you don't need to bring a power inverter with you. There's already plug-ins, so you can plug in your refrigerator, a blender. We have people in their off time that play video games on a big screen in their truck. That comes because that APUs is what supplies the power to the truck in order to make that possible.
Okay. And that is a great segue to our next segment. It's like Kayla or you, somebody is psychic out there. So let's go ahead, go to commercial. And then when we come back, I definitely want to be able to talk about MVT trucks and how nice they are and everything. So I want to go to the commercial with the tall human in the condo and explaining the truck.
At Mesilla Valley Transportation, every driver is behind the wheel of a late model International LT, a truck that takes comfort, convenience, and safety to a whole new level. Join us as we explore the impressive features of this powerhouse on wheels. The open road is full of surprises, and sometimes that includes unexpected encounters with wildlife. But worry not, the International LT has you covered. The front end protection guard offers an extra layer of defense, protecting you from animal strikes. Drive with confidence, knowing that you're shielded from the unexpected. We all know how important it is to keep our batteries charged, and our International LTs have your back. The Cummins X15 is equipped with an auto start feature, ensuring that your batteries are automatically recharged when they run low on volts. It's a seamless process that keeps you powered up and ready to hit the road. Disc brakes and an engine brake provide reliable and safe stopping power when you need it most. You can have peace of mind knowing that you're in control. Safety is at the forefront of what we do. Our International LTs are equipped with top-of-the-line safety features to ensure your well-being while out on the road. These tractors are equipped with Bendix fusion protection, collision mitigation, and lane departure warning. Achieving good fuel efficiency deserves recognition. With the International LT, your efforts don't go unnoticed. When you consistently achieve impressive miles per gallon, the International LT rewards you with increased speed. It's a little extra motivation to keep you pushing for better fuel economy. After a long drive, you're ready for a well-deserved break. With the International LT, you can enjoy your rest period in absolute comfort. Thanks to its auxiliary power unit, you can keep the driver's cabin heated or cooled just the way you like it. No matter the weather outside, you'll always find your sweet spot within our International LTs. The International LT understands that comfort extends beyond driving. It's a space where you can truly feel at home. I'm a big guy, and I have room to move around in here. With plenty of room to spare, the International LT accommodates even the tallest drivers. And there's ample storage for all your clothes, cooking essentials, and tools, making life on the road even more convenient. Speaking of cooking, bring along your appliances and don't sacrifice any luxuries thanks to all of our International LTs being equipped with built-in inverters. Dry your hair, make a smoothie, or play a game, all from the comfort of your truck. We take pride in our well-maintained fleet. And if by chance you do come across something wrong on your truck, you're never far from help thanks to our valuable relationship with Penske. With more than 750 brick-and-mortar Penske shops nationwide, their expert team is always ready to assist you. From routine maintenance to unexpected repairs, they'll get you taken care of and back on the road in no time. And there you have it. Just a few things about this late model International LT that make MVT the place to be.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Okay. So if you all see, it is a lot of room in there. And I say that because we'll be on the phone with drivers, and you have drivers that are tall or big humans, and they complain that the cabins or the condos are too small. But those condos are double sleepers.
Yep.
So
yep.
You take
got it. You know, most regional companies have what's called would be a 56-inch sleeper berth. Ours is a 71-inch sleeper berth, which folks that have not been a truck doesn't sound like that big a difference. It's a significant difference. Essentially, as a solo driver, you're having a truck that's built for a team. So you have space to move around, to stand up, to move in on. Joe there is 6'3", 6'5", stands up comfortably in the truck. Between the power outlets and being able to function and move around, look, your truck is your home away from home. You have to be comfortable in it. It's not just how it performs on the road, it's how it performs at a truck stop or when you're parked at a shipper. So being able to feel comfortable, have privacy with the privacy curtains in place becomes really important. It's one of those things that you spend so much time there that you want to enjoy what you're in. The Blue Beasts, as we call them, are a very popular item, and a number of drivers point to our equipment being one of the main reasons they join us, because it's very reliable. On top of the fact that we have a strong relationship with Penske, so if you run into issues on the road, Penske can get you a loaner or get it fixed quickly because they have a network set up all up and down our running lanes. So it becomes really important that you have a truck that's reliable, but also comfortable.
What I'm going to say about that is, and this is one thing when I was on the phone as a recruiter, I used to say all the time, If you have a company that you're working for and that equipment is hot garbage, you need to get away from them. Because if you are a regional or an OTR driver, if your wheels ain't turning, you ain't making no money. So use all of horrible English, but that is the only way to explain that. So to be with a company that is really big on taking care of their equipment is huge when it comes to whether or not you're going to make the money that they're saying you're going to make. It doesn't matter if a company promise you $1 million a week. If their equipment is hot garbage and you're forever on the side of the road broken down, they can promise you 95 cents per mile as a company driver with 3,500 miles. Guess what? You're not going to see any money because you are broken down every haul, every 700-mile haul. Literally, you're broken down, and we hear that. And if you're a driver that's been driving more than a year, you know that I'm talking facts. That's the truth. And if you're a carrier, you have even or worked for a carrier behind the desk, you know that I'm speaking about that as well. Drivers cannot make money if their wheels are not turning. That's just how our industry is. Because detention pay does not pay enough. Breakdown pay does not pay enough for the drivers to be able to buy diapers, pay rent, pay phone bill, or anything. So that's my rant and raving for today. I'm not going to say for the year, just for today.
I concur.
So what I want to say is if you are looking for Division 400, if you're looking for Division 410, or any of the other opportunities that MVT or Rig on Wheels may have for any other company, please give us a call at 281-968-3100. 281-968-3100, or go directly to our website at rigonwheels.com and fill out the 10th Street Intelli app, and a recruiter will definitely get back to you whether you are calling in. And if you don't get a recruiter, please leave a voicemail, okay? Or if you fill out an application, they will get back with you as well. Anything else you want to say, Pierson?
Not this episode. Appreciate it as always here. Ready to log off. It's about midnight here. So another great time talking to you and Kayla here, and we'll meet again next week.
Yeah, so we will be back on Tuesday, the good time, 3 p.m. Tuesday, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm always teasing Pierson because he is in every time zone. And yeah, I'm just right here on Tuesday, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.